So in your experience over the years, Eric, what do you think are, say, the three biggest reasons business owners specifically pay more than their fair share or pay more than the tax code requires?
Probably the number one thing is the way that businesses are structured. So most businesses are improperly structured. A lot of businesses in the US are improperly structured, and I talk to them all the time. And when I say that, it means, should you be a sole proprietor? Should you be a partnership? Should you have a partnership with your spouse, without your spouse? Should you be an S corporation? Should you be a C corporation? A lot of different things. And for a lot of business owners, it's like another language, all of these different things. But, we want to run the numbers and see where you're going to save the most in taxes. And, today for this year, it might be one structure, then we might advance to another structure eventually. So that's probably the biggest thing. And that's where you're going to see the most savings without, having to with doing very little work, basically. And then the number two thing is the way that people pay themselves through the business. There are so many ways that you can pay yourself from your business, basically tax-free. And we want to look at those ways where you can get some money out of the business and not get killed in taxes. And so that's the number two thing. And it's just a lot of people are paying themselves very inefficiently from a tax standpoint. Number three are probably niche specific strategies, because depending on what type of business you are, whether you're a manufacturer, whether you're a dentist, whether you are a tech company, there are specific things that you can and should be doing that a lot of people just aren't doing. And again, I always come back to the 80-20 rule, right? There, 20% of the strategies that make up for 80% of the savings, and that's true in each niche as well. So you don't want to spend a lot of time or resources on these little strategies that are just going to save you a few bucks here and there.
That's the other comment that I wanted to make. It seems there's a lot of videos, a lot of training, a lot of things out on the web where we're talking about make sure you track your mileage, make sure that you save your receipts, make sure you do this and that. And it seems like those things are important, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how important would you say those things are in saving people taxes versus the kinds of strategies that you're talking about?
Yeah, so very, very low. Probably like maybe a three or something like that. You're not going to save a lot of money in taxes, and the amount of time and effort that you're going to put into that is a lot of times just not worth it. Plus the risk is high with those strategies when it comes to mileage, when it comes to home office, things like that, because IRS knows people are going to be very subjective and probably get it wrong on their estimates and stuff like that. And so you're putting yourself at risk. So the risk is high and the savings are low. And that's the worst strategy to use.
So as a business owner, you have to decide how you're going to spend your time. One of the most valuable things you can do is spending your time in the places where it makes the most difference, brings you the greatest return. So what I'm hearing you say is that, there are some strategies that would save a little bit of money, but it's really not necessarily worth it. Number one, saving your receipts, mileage. Yeah, we can help that'll help, but it's not going to bring you the biggest bang for your buck and your time and investment.
Yeah. And it depends on the person. Some people really want to do that. They don't have no problem tracking all that and they enjoy it. That's fine. But there are other strategies that are low risk and high savings. And that's what we want to look at, where, the risk is low, but you're going to see huge savings. And those are the best things that we really want to focus on. Once you're doing those, if there are other things that we can do, we can definitely do those things. But
one of the most common things that I see and people complain about is that when they take their returns, not necessarily their returns, but their information to their CPA, and the tax strategy is, let's go out and buy another piece of equipment to save money on taxes. What would be your opinion on something like that kind of a strategy?
Yeah, so I very rarely would recommend somebody buying something just for the tax savings, because, you're better off just having those dollars, because you're only going to see a percentage of that in tax savings. And so there are times where that makes sense. Maybe it takes you down to a lower bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it does something like that. I've had instances where basically somebody buys a car and it becomes kind of a free car because of what they're saving in taxes. But it's a little bit more rare. And so, very rarely we'll have a strategy where it's like, hey, spend money to get a tax deduction. The best tax deductions, the best tax strategies are the ones where you don't even have to spend money to get the tax savings. And those are the ones we want to look at first.
From a financial standpoint, as a financial advisor, I would much rather see somebody take that money and then reinvest it back into themselves, something that's going to increase their wealth, rather than buying something for a tax deduction that's not going to build their wealth.